And here he is, folks. Yuji, the sorcerer slash tamer who's less extraordinaire and more extraordinarily bad at life. This guy's the human equivalent of a check engine light. Annoying, useless, and always showing up at the worst possible time. If failure had a face, it would look exactly like Yuji, except even failure would probably apologize for being associated with him. But hey, at least he's got his slimes. You know, those gelatinous blobs that somehow manage to be more competent, charismatic, and likable than he'll ever be. Yuji's not just a loser. He's the kind of loser who makes you wonder if karma just has a really mean sense of humor. The story starts with Yuji getting ambushed by a monster in the forest. But don't worry, Yuji's not alone. He's got backup. And by backup, I mean a bunch of slimes. Yes, slimes, those little blobs you thought were only good for being squished in RPGs. Well, think again. These slimes roll up and bam! Cut to the Adventurers Guild, where a dude is getting roasted harder than a marshmallow at a campfire. Why? Because he claimed he saw a slime casting fire spells. A slime. Everyone's laughing at him, saying, "Bro, slimes are weaker than my Wi-Fi signal. They can't even tie their shoes, let alone cast spells." The poor guy's face turns beet red as he stammers, "I swear, it was glowing and everything." But then Yuji walks in, cool as a cucumber, and casually completes a super difficult quest. The receptionist's jaw hits the floor, and even the guildmaster Aegis is left wondering, who is this guy? Spoiler, he's not your average tamer. Yuji just shrugs. Just when things are looking chill, an adventurer bursts in with some bad news. The forest is crawling with monsters, and they're headed straight for town. Aegis drops the bomb. Several thousand monsters are coming. Cue the panic. The guildmaster declares, "Everyone run for your lives!" But the adventurers? Nah, they're not having it. They're ready to throw down for their town. And Yuji? He's got a plan. A Dragon Fang plan, because why not? He pulls out the Dragon Fang with a dramatic flourish and the room falls silent. "I'm going to mimic a dragon's fire breath and nuke these monsters," he announces, like he's ordering a coffee. Everyone's side-eyeing him, thinking, "Bro, you're a tamer, not a dragon." But then one adventurer points at Yuji's slime and declares, "Trust him, that slime's got drip." So the adventurers agree to buy Yuji time while he preps his big move. Meanwhile, Yuji's wolf is out there herding slimes like they're battle-hungry sheep, because apparently, slimes are the ultimate hype beasts. The monsters arrive, and it's chaos. Bombs are flying, swords are swinging, and Yuji's over here coding spells like he's debugging a video game. Team Dryad reports a mysterious dude with a red crystal stone, and Yuji casually responds, "Cool, I'll just build a barrier on top of it." No big deal. The slimes teleport to the crystal, catch the mysterious guy, and Yuji seals the stone like it's a Tupperware lid. But then the guy drinks poison like he's in a Shakespeare tragedy drama. Yuji sighs, muttering, "Could have at least waited for the monologue." Yuji transfers his magic to the slimes, and they're ready to unleash hell. The adventurers are holding the line, but one monster's causing trouble. Two adventurers are about to pull a heroic sacrifice, but Yuji's wolf swoops in with a heroic, "Not today." Yuji then activates his barrier and launches Hellfire, which is basically a magical nuke. Boom! Most monsters are toast, but some survive. Yuji's out of MP, but he declares, "Nah, I've got one more in me." He launches a second attack, saves the town, and then passes out like he just finished a 12-hour gaming session. Yuji wakes up to find his slimes and Lily, who's basically his hype woman, celebrating. Aegis figures out the cause of the monster attack, and everyone's feasting on Lily's soup. Yuji's loving it, but when Lily asks why he risked his life, he clams up. Later, he remembers his past life as an office worker, relatable, and dips out of town in the middle of the night because heroes don't stick around for the afterparty. The slimes trail behind him, glowing softly in the moonlight, as Yuji mutters, "Guess we're off to the next adventure." Yuji and his slimes roll into the next town, Kilea, where they immediately draw attention because, well, who walks around with a pack of slimes? Yuji buys out a meat shop to feed his slimes and wolf, because apparently they're foodies now. But then a bell rings, signaling the arrival of someone from the Central Guild. Dun dun dun! Yuji raises an eyebrow, wondering if this is going to be trouble or just another day in the life of a slime tamer. Yuji heads to the guild to pick up quests, but everyone's underestimating him because he's a tamer. The receptionist, however, knows what's up and gives him difficult quests. A group of adventurers invites Yuji to their party, but Rotis, the edgy one, scoffs, "What's a tamer going to do? Tame the monsters to death?" Lisa and Tina ask, "Can you track monsters?" Yuji replies, "Sure." But secretly, he's just there to see how strong his party is. They set off to find an earth dragon, and Yuji's slimes are itching to fight. But Yuji orders, "Chill, let's see what these guys can do." Spoiler: Rotis goes full anime protagonist and kills all the monsters solo. Meanwhile, the slimes are pouting because they didn't get to fight. Slime life is hard. After a long day of monster tracking and Rotis's edgy antics, Yuji and the gang take a break for dinner. Yuji, being the ultimate slime dad, shares his chicken drumstick with his cute slime. Because nothing says bonding like sharing food with a gelatinous blob, Yuji even praises his slimes in front of Tina, saying, "These little guys are the real MVPs." The other slimes, overhearing this, puff up with pride. Tina, intrigued, asks, "How are you so good at tracking monsters?" Yuji, caught off guard, doesn't know what to say. Cue awkward silence. Rotis, ever the responsible one, stands up and declares, "We should sleep in shifts. No bandits are ruining my beauty sleep." Yuji's surprised. Rotis is actually being polite? What alternate universe is this? As everyone settles in, Yuji drifts off and has a flashback to his isekai origins. He remembers the day he woke up in another world, confused and disoriented. Suddenly, a little slime appears, looking at him with big, gooey eyes. Yuji, without thinking, tames it. The slime, now his new best friend, leads him to an abandoned house filled with grimoires. Yuji, being the overachiever he is, reads them all and instantly learns every spell. His stats skyrocket, and he gains the ability to talk to his slimes through telepathy. Talk about a glow-up. Yuji's slime wakes him up, reporting, "Rotis is gone! Tina and Lisa too!" Yuji groggily sits up, rubbing his eyes. "Great. My party's falling apart," he mutters, already dreading the chaos ahead. Meanwhile, Tina and Lisa are sneaking after Rotis, whispering to each other, "Yuji's too weak for this. We'll handle it." But Rotis, being the sneaky guy he is, senses someone following him. He throws a knife in the direction of Yuji's slime, but Yuji's already activated the invisibility skill. The slime dodges effortlessly, unharmed. Rotis narrows his eyes, muttering, "Annoying pests," before continuing deeper into the forest, avoiding traps like he's in a spy movie. The girls exchange worried glances. What's he up to? Spoiler: nothing good. Rotis meets up with his boss in a shadowy clearing, reporting, "I've got 2 girls and a guy in my party." Turns out Rotis is part of a bandit group that specializes in enslaving people. The bandits decide to kidnap Tina and Lisa to sell them to rich noble families. Classic villain move. The bandit boss, a hulking figure with a scarred face, even attacks his own henchmen for questioning his orders because, apparently, he's just that evil. Tina and Lisa, hiding nearby, try to escape but accidentally trigger a trap, setting off an alarm. Yuji, hearing the commotion from a distance, gets ready to unleash one of his overpowered spells. Because when in doubt, nuke the problem. Yuji's slimes position themselves in front of the bandit hideout, glowing faintly as they prepare for action. Yuji transfers his magic to them, and they freeze the bandits in a giant block of ice. Lisa and Tina, watching from the shadows, are stunned. Did Yuji just solo an entire bandit group with slimes? Yuji even captures the bandit boss, Galios, who's now stored in a slime's stomach. The slime burps, and Yuji pats it like it's a job well done. While looking for somewhere to camp, Yuji throws a slime into the sky to scout for a camping spot. The girls are amazed as Yuji sets up a cozy sleeping area in record time, complete with a makeshift fire pit and a tent that somehow looks more luxurious than anything they've ever seen. As they fall asleep, Yuji can't stop thinking about Galios' warning. Something bad will happen after the moon turns blue. Cut to a mysterious priest standing on a cliff, staring at the moon with an ominous expression. Dun dun dun. The group continues their quest to find the Earth Dragon. Yuji's slimes scout the area but find nothing. The girls encourage him, saying, "We believe in your overpowered slimes." Yuji flashes back to his adventurer exam, where he accidentally destroyed a magic crystal with his insane magic power. He tried to play it cool by using weak spells, but even his fireball obliterated a huge rock. The examiners were shook. Yuji decided then and there to only use low-rank spells to avoid attention. Smart move, but also kind of a flex. As they search for the Earth Dragon, Yuji's slimes wipe out every monster in their path. The girls are confused. "Why are there no monsters?" Yuji casually replies, "Oh, my slimes took care of them." The girls are speechless, exchanging looks that scream, "What kind of tamer is this guy?" Suddenly, the sky turns an eerie shade of purple, and the slimes sense something spooky. Yuji remembers the Blue Moon prophecy. A giant dragon capable of destroying humanity is coming. He orders his proud wolf to gather the slimes while the group hides in Delight Canyon, a safe zone where strong monsters avoid. In Delight Canyon, Yuji's slimes instantly defeat all the monsters, because of course they do. But then, a strong wind nearly blows them away, forcing the group to cling to rocks for dear life. They find a suspicious cave with wind pouring out of it, like the earth itself is exhaling. Meanwhile, Yuji's proud wolf gets chased by a huge bear. A slime steps in, fires a single fire spell, and the bear is toast. The slimes remark, "We made it out of Delight Canyon, no big deal," as if they're just casually discussing the weather. A little slime reports to Yuji, "We've encountered no more strong monsters." Just as they're about to relax, the ground trembles, and the Earth Dragon they were supposed to scout appears, its massive form casting a shadow over the canyon. Lisa and Tina panic. "Our quest was just to scout it, not fight it," they scream, ready to bolt. But Yuji? He's already cracking his knuckles, thinking, "Time to slay a dragon." The girls try to stop him, shouting, "The Earth Dragon is too strong." But Yuji, ever the overachiever, charges in anyway, his slimes bouncing excitedly behind him. Yuji starts the fight with weak magic, which does absolutely nothing to the dragon. He notes, "I'll need high-level magic, but I can't reveal my true strength." The Earth Dragon, tired of Yuji's weak attacks, lunges at Tina and Lisa. Yuji swoops in, saving them just in time. The girls gasp, "Thank you, Yuji!" Now, with a plan forming in his head, Yuji lures the dragon into a trap. The slimes attack together, and Yuji creates a massive sandstorm, obscuring the battlefield. Perfect cover for his next move. Yuji prepares a high-level spell and unleashes a devastating fire attack. The explosion is so massive, it shakes the entire area. Tina and Lisa, hiding behind a rock, whisper, "Did his slime just ignite explosive rocks?" They're convinced Yuji's slimes are the real heroes, completely unaware of Yuji's true power. Classic Yuji move, letting his slimes take the credit. Back at the guild, Yuji's group reports their scouting mission. The receptionist is stunned. "You were only supposed to scout the dragon, not defeat it?" Yuji's slime casually tosses out the Earth Dragon's head and Rhotus's corpse, because, bandit problems. Guildmaster Ray hears about the Earth Dragon's defeat and rewards the party with a hefty sum of money. But Ray isn't done. He wants to talk to Yuji about something big. In a meeting with Guildmaster Ray, Yuji uses a spell to turn his memories into an image, showing the dragon he saw in the forest. Ray's face pales as he recognizes the creature. Priest Stale steps in, holding a book of legends. The blue moon heralds the arrival of a dragon capable of destroying a continent in 3 days, he explains, his voice grave. Ray suspects the dragon was summoned through a spirit ceremony held 30 years ago. Yuji's slime interrupts, reporting, "The blue dragon is getting bigger." The adventurers are terrified, but Ray declares, "We won't give up without a fight." Yuji, standing in the corner, smirks faintly. He's already planning his next move because when the world's at stake, who else are you gonna call but the guy with the slimes? After a delicious lunch, courtesy of Yuji's meat-buying spree, Tina and Lisa approach Yuji with determined looks. "We know you're planning to fight the blue dragon," they say. "We want to help!" Yuji's about to respond when Priest Stale shows up, holding a rusted dagger that looks like it's been pulled out of a dumpster. This belonged to the legendary hero who disappeared 30 years ago, he says, handing it to Yuji with a solemn expression. Yuji examines the dagger, turning it over in his hands, and suddenly, a faint glow emanates from it. He senses its hidden power. "Why me?" Yuji asks. Priest Stale replies, "The gods have chosen you." No pressure, right? Yuji sets off with his familiars to face the blue dragon, the slimes bouncing excitedly behind him, ready for battle. Yuji shares his senses with them, creating a mental link that allows them to coordinate perfectly. He launches a Hellfire spell, the flames roaring toward the dragon. But the dragon, a blue-eyed laser-shooting monstrosity, barely flinches. It shrugs off the attack like it's a mild inconvenience. Yuji realizes this thing is resistant to most elements. The dragon starts gathering mana, its body glowing ominously, and Yuji knows it's time to use the legendary dagger. The slimes are skeptical. It looks like a piece of junk, but Yuji knows better. He grips the dagger tightly, feeling its power surge through him. Yuji charges at the dragon, deflecting laser beams with his slime's help. The slimes form a protective barrier around him, absorbing the dragon's attacks. Yuji uses barriers and skywalks to maneuver through the air, closing the distance between him and the dragon. He lands a critical hit on one of its eyes with the dagger, causing the beast to roar in pain. But the dragon isn't done yet. It counters with a devastating attack, a massive beam of energy that drains Yuji's MP. Yuji's out of magic, and the dragon is still standing. Time for Plan B. Yuji pulls out a Pikachu-level Thunderbolt spell, the electricity crackling through the air and paralyzing the dragon momentarily. He hops on his proud wolf, and together they launch a coordinated attack. Yuji combines the dagger's power with his fire spell, slashing the dragon into two pieces. The blue-eyed beast falls, defeated. The slimes cheer, "Victory!" bouncing around in celebration. The next morning, Guildmaster Ray knocks on Yuji's door. "The legendary dragon is defeated," he says, "and the world is safe." Yuji learns that the world credits an unknown person for saving them. Ray assures Yuji, "You can count on the adventurers if trouble arises again." Meanwhile, magic mushrooms sprout where the dragon fell, glowing faintly in the sunlight. Because of course they do. After the dragon drama, Yuji sits down for a peaceful breakfast. Lisa and Tina chat with him, saying, "So, the dragon's defeated. What's next for you?" Yuji replies, "I think I'll travel to the next town." Lisa suggests, "You should visit the city of Ricardo. It's a great place." Yuji, ever the cautious one, asks, "Are there any strange things happening there?" The girls laugh. "No, it's warm and calm, perfect for a vacation." With that, they bid Yuji farewell, and he sets off with his slimes who are already dreaming about their next meal. As Yuji travels, a slime reports, "Dryad has a problem." Yuji rushes to her aid, and she shows him a patch of magic mushrooms. Dryad explains, "I need these to make S-rank potions, healing and mana restoration." Yuji's impressed. "With MP potions, I could instantly regain all my magic." The slimes, being overachievers, collect all the mushrooms in record time, their gelatinous bodies stretching and squishing as they work. Dryad starts brewing potions but struggles to turn the MP potion blue. Yuji, channeling his inner Walter White, steps in. "Let me show you a trick I learned." Using slimes and Erlenmeyer flasks, he distills water like a pro. Dryad's amazed. "You're a genius." Yuji reminisces with Dryad about how they first met. "You were sick in a tree, and I cured you," he says. Dryad smiles. "Yes, and then you sealed the power of that mysterious stone and defeated the evil monsters that appeared." She conjures flowers as a thank you gift, the petals glowing softly in the sunlight. Yuji learns that the magic stones are mixed with dragon blood, explaining their immense power. Dryad successfully brews blue MP potions, thanks to Yuji's help, and gives him a few as a token of her gratitude, and heads home, leaving Yuji to continue his journey. Yuji and his familiars travel through thick fog until they stumble upon a small village. A man greets them warmly. "Come, eat with us and wait for the fog to clear." Yuji accepts the offer but isn't hungry. The man asks, Why are you visiting our village? Yuji replies, I'm heading to the city of Ricarda. The villagers watch him closely, their eyes narrowing slightly, and Yuji's slimes whisper, these people seem suspicious. Yuji agrees but keeps his cool, not wanting to cause a scene. As they leave, the man from earlier talks to a crystal ball, muttering, tomorrow, I'll extract the Dragon's Grace in Delight Canyon and destroy the world. Yuji, unaware of this ominous plot, continues on his way, the slimes bouncing along behind him. Yuji and his familiars arrive in Ricarda, only to find the city in the middle of a blizzard. The slimes are excited for the city's famous food, but Yuji's more concerned about staying warm. He casts a spell to create a barrier, the magical energy forming a dome around them. The slimes are impressed, bouncing around inside the barrier like kids in a bouncy castle. A city guard approaches and asks, why are you visiting Ricarda? Yuji replies, I've heard about the delicious food here. The guard recommends a famous restaurant, and Yuji heads there, hoping for a warm meal. At the restaurant, a woman apologizes. We're closed because we don't have enough firewood for the stove. Yuji, determined to eat, offers, I'll get you some firewood. He heads into the forest, creates a magic axe, and starts chopping trees. The slimes watch in awe as Yuji nearly destroys the entire forest in his quest for firewood. After chopping the wood, Yuji uses his slimes to absorb the moisture, making the firewood perfect for burning. The slimes beam with pride as Yuji praises their hard work, their gelatinous bodies glowing faintly with satisfaction. Yuji returns to the restaurant with the firewood. The shopkeeper examines it and calls the chef. The old chef is stunned. This firewood is perfect. I've never seen anything like it. Yuji explains, my slimes helped me prepare it. The slimes proudly show off the large pile of firewood they collected, bouncing around like they've just won a championship. The chef is overjoyed, eager to repay his kindness, cooks him a delicious steak with side dishes. Yuji takes a bite and his eyes widen. This is incredible, he exclaims, savoring the heavenly taste of the vegetables and meat. He thanks the chef, complimenting their skills. When he hears about the stew, the shopkeeper hesitates, saying, we don't want to use up all the firewood. Yuji, ever the problem solver, decides to help the city by heading to the guild. At the guild, Yuji learns the whole town is struggling due to the blizzard. He accepts quests to assist the lumberjacks. Uroka, one of the lumberjacks, explains, demand for firewood is skyrocketing because no one expected this blizzard. Yuji asks about Messiah's village and is told, no one lives there anymore. Without hesitation, Yuji starts chopping down trees with his powerful axe skills. The lumberjacks are stunned as Yuji cuts down countless trees in moments, chops them into perfect firewood, and stacks them neatly. His slimes absorb the moisture instantly, leaving the lumberjacks speechless. Whitaker, one of the lumberjacks, mutters, I've never seen anything like this. Yuji just shrugs, already thinking about his next meal. Meanwhile, his slimes, ever the overachievers, vomit up even more firewood they've stored in their gelatinous bodies. Uroka, still in shock, stammers, how is this even possible? Yuji casually asks, does the guild need more firewood? Before heading out to collect enough for the entire town. By evening, he's created a mountain of firewood so large it could fuel the town for months, leaving everyone in awe. The next morning, Yuji returns to the restaurant, eager to try the famous stew he's heard so much about. The chef serves him a steaming bowl, and Yuji takes a bite. His eyes light up. This is paradise, he declares, savoring the rich flavors. His familiars are equally impressed, devouring their meals with gusto. The restaurant owner and chef thank Yuji profusely, their gratitude evident in their smiles. However, the chef mentions, usually we can serve even better dishes, but monsters are eating all the high-quality herbs. Yuji, never one to back down from a challenge, decides to hunt the monsters. Consider it done, he says, already planning his next move. Yuji and his slimes head into the forest, ready to take down the herb-eating monsters. They quickly find a wild boar, which scares the slimes with a loud, ear-piercing scream. The slimes plead, transfer some magic to us. Yuji obliges, and the slimes, now empowered, defeat the boar with ease. They wipe out all the monsters in the forest, but during the fight, they discover a blue magic orb. Yuji asks Dryad about it, and she explains, it absorbs energy. Yuji recalls the red crystals he encountered earlier and suspects the magic orbs are causing the blizzard. Orders his slimes to find more, and he seals the blue orb, determined to uncover the source of the unnatural weather. The slimes, ever efficient, find 108 magic orbs scattered around the city of Ricardo. Yuji senses a strange energy emanating from them and suspects a high-level spell is at play. He orders his slimes to leave the forest and sends his proud wolf to gather them. Realizing the danger, Yuji decides to destroy part of the forest with a powerful fire spell. Dryad, watching from a distance, isn't angry. She understands that Yuji is trying to save everyone. The explosion reveals a secret entrance, which Yuji decides to investigate, his curiosity piqued. Yuji descends into the secret hideout with his slimes, the air thick with tension. Dryad stays behind, worried but trusting Yuji to handle whatever lies ahead. Inside, the slimes find glowing machines and magic crystals filled with a mysterious substance. Suspicious people appear, inspecting the destroyed machines before leaving through another exit. Yuji wonders, what are they up to? Meanwhile, the slimes are having a blast exploring, acting like tiny spies as they bounce around the hideout. Yuji casts a spell to make his slimes invisible, and they continue their mission, their gelatinous bodies blending seamlessly into the shadows. They chase the suspicious men, eventually finding a huge steel door. The slimes report, "We found 2 levers." Yuji instructs them to pull the levers simultaneously, and the door creaks open. They climb a ladder and emerge in the village of Macias. The slimes recognize the village and search for villagers, only to find the suspicious men reporting to their leader about the destroyed machines. Yuji spies on the conversation through his slimes, his expression growing grim. The leader of the evil organization, dressed in cult-like attire, is furious about the destroyed machines. He orders his followers, collect all the remaining magic stones in the forest. When a follower asks, "What if we see strangers?" the leader coldly replies, "Kill them." Yuji realizes the group is connected to the Blue Moon and plans to stop them before they harm innocent people. His resolve hardens as he formulates a plan. Yuji orders his slimes to secretly surround the village and look for innocent people. The slimes, ever obedient, search the village, stealing books and documents from the evil organization. They tie up some criminals in the forest, but the captives commit suicide by drinking poison. Yuji watches grimly but doesn't stop his plan. A slime reports, "We found a locked metal door." Yuji prepares to investigate further, determined to uncover the organization's secrets. Yuji examines the locked metal door and asks, "Can you spot any levers?" The slimes notice several lights and candles nearby. Yuji instructs them, "Position yourselves in front of the candles." The slimes blow out all the candles with a wind spell, and the door creaks open. The slimes are impressed. "Yuji, you're a genius!" they cheer. Inside, they find treasures and a skeleton. Suddenly, they sense someone in the hiding place, but the slimes have already stolen all the books and treasures. The evil organization grows desperate as Yuji prepares to attack. The evil group realizes many of their followers have disappeared. They suspect the explosion was caused by a human and fear their plans have been exposed. One member whispers, "The cleansing flame will destroy the world." Yuji listens intently as the leader declares, "We must track down the enemy and kill him." The cult members draw their swords, ready to sacrifice themselves. Suddenly, the cleansing flame activates, causing an earthquake. Yuji shouts, "Gather the slimes! We need to get out of here!" Yuji encases his slimes in a barrier and uses a blast spell to launch them to safety. The slimes soar into the sky. Meanwhile, Yuji surrounds the city of Matthias with multiple barriers. Green flames erupt from the ground, destroying everything in their path. Yuji's barriers begin to break, and he scrambles to create a new spell. He activates his Isolating Zone spell, but his MP is draining fast. With the last of his strength, he holds on as a massive explosion engulfs the city like an atomic bomb. Yuji manages to stop the blast, but he's completely drained. Yuji's proud wolf, who had been hiding underground, emerges at night, its keen senses guiding it to its master. Yuji returns to the city of Ricarda, where the residents are overjoyed to see him unharmed. They assume the explosions were caused by meteorites. Yuji notices the snow is thawing, and the next morning the townspeople throw a party in his honor. The restaurant owner thanks Yuji for defeating the wild boar monsters, and the chef serves him the tastiest stew he's ever had. Yuji takes one bite and feels reborn, the flavors exploding in his mouth. He falls into a food coma, overwhelmed by the deliciousness. That evening, Yuji wakes up and examines the documents stolen from the evil organization. The slimes obediently vomit out the papers, but to Yuji's frustration, the characters on most of them disappear, leaving only a few legible lines. Among the readable scraps, he finds one chilling document, a death list meant for someone as infamous as John Wick. His heart skips a beat when he spots his own name on it. Meanwhile, assassins are already on the move, searching for their targets. A female assassin practices her skills by throwing a knife at a snake, her movements precise and deadly. They eventually track Yuji to the forest, where he's traveling to the next town to avoid endangering Ricarda further. Yuji learns about the city of Borgina, famous for its monster armor. He plans to visit Geigel's workshop to power up his familiars. The slimes are excited, bouncing around with glee, but Yuji notices he's being watched. His slime whispers, "Two suspicious people are following you." Yuji pretends to take a nap, feigning ignorance, while the assassins debate whether to kill him. The woman warns, "Our job is to decide if he's a threat." They decide to keep watching, unaware that Yuji is already one step ahead. He uses a slime to spy on them and checks their stats, quickly devising a plan to trick them into thinking he's harmless. Yuji arrives in Borgina and heads straight to an armor shop, only to be sent away for lacking money. The assassins, watching from afar, smirk and think, "This guy's a loser." Yuji uses his slimes to find money hidden in the forest, but pretends to spend it all on alcohol, further selling his act. He heads to the guild and accepts a monster hunt quest, telling his slimes, "You're not allowed to fight today. I'll fight like an ordinary tamer." He sends his proud wolf into battle, and the wolf, terrified, accidentally defeats a bull with one attack. The slimes cheer, and Yuji remembers the day he first met the proud wolf. Yuji recalls the night he and his slimes were attacked by the proud wolf. Yuji defeated him instantly, and the wolf begged for mercy, crying, "Please don't kill me." Yuji spared him, and the wolf has been loyal ever since. Now, the proud wolf is rediscovering his strength, and the slimes are cheering him on. The assassins, watching from the shadows, start to doubt their earlier assessment. "Maybe Yuji is a strong tamer after all," one mutters. Yuji, however, is determined to keep up his weakling act. He secretly heals the monsters, letting Proud Wolf defeat them again. The slimes cheer, and the assassins are convinced Yuji is harmless. But then, Yuji accidentally screws up his plan. Yuji uses a steroid spell on the bulls, making them too strong. Proud Wolf, now being chased by the overpowered bulls, tries to dodge their attacks. Yuji considers buffing the wolf, but decides to let him fight on his own. Proud Wolf, determined to protect his honor, lands a final attack and defeats the bulls. The slimes celebrate, and the assassins are convinced Yuji is weak. But then, a bull attacks Yuji, and he instinctively defeats it with a spell. The assassins are shocked. Yuji sighs. "Well, there goes my plan." The assassins aren't sure what to think. Is Yuji strong or weak, they wonder. Yuji's slime waits patiently for their decision. Eventually, the assassins classify Yuji as no threat and prepare to report to their boss, but Yuji overhears their conversation. They plan to assassinate Priest Stale next, he realizes. That night, the assassins report Yuji's weakness to their leader, who is thrilled. "With Priest Stale out of the way, nothing can stop us," the leader declares. Yuji knows he has to act fast. Yuji uses a powerful spell, and his slime instantly defeats the two assassins with an ice spell, freezing them in place. The next morning, Yuji visits blacksmith Geigel to gear up his slimes. Geigel's apprentice underestimates Yuji, but Geigel quickly corrects him. "Yuji's familiars are on a high level," he says, examining the slimes with a keen eye. Geigel agrees to make custom armor for Yuji's team, but admits he lacks the right materials. Your familiars are too strong for ordinary jewels, he explains. Yuji learns he'll need jewels from a rare blue lesser fire dragon. Yuji accepts all the lesser fire dragon hunt quests at the guild. He learns these dragons are resistant to spells, but weak to water. The only problem? The nearby river is full of dangerous fish. Yuji accepts a fish hunt quest and heads to Volcano Mountain. His slimes, unable to swim, form a web with Yuji's spell and dive into the river. They find a fish monster in a dark hole, but it's too scary. The slimes scream, "Pull us out!" Yuji freezes the fish with an ice spell, but it breaks free and attacks. Yuji dodges and finishes it off with a fire spell, the flames illuminating the dark cave. Find the lesser fire dragons but are too scared to fight. Yuji steps in, using water spells to defeat the dragons and collect their jewels. The slimes, inspired by Yuji's courage, join the fight. They eventually find a blue lesser fire dragon, much larger and stronger than the others. Yuji positions the slimes and attacks the dragon with a massive amount of water. When that fails, he uses a tenfold ice spell to freeze the dragon. The slimes cheer as Yuji collects the rare blue jewel, their gelatinous bodies glowing with pride. Yuji returns to the guild, completing all his hunting quests. The receptionist thanks him for the fish quest information. Yuji then visits Geigel, handing over the blue lesser fire dragon jewel and a bunch of common ones. Geigel and his apprentice are stunned. "You actually did it!" Geigel exclaims, his eyes wide with admiration. The next morning, Yuji's familiars receive their new armor, which enhances their power and speed. Proud Wolf tests his new abilities, zooming around with glee. The slimes also try out their upgrades, and Yuji casts a spell to make them even faster. Geigel suggests Yuji test the new attack power by transferring an ice spell onto his slime. Geigel and his apprentice are stunned when Yuji's slime demonstrates its ability to cast strong magic. However, Yuji learns the new armors can't withstand the full power of his spells. Geigel mentions, "Fire dragons are extremely rare. No one has ever defeated one." Yuji considers hunting the dragon but worries about endangering the residents. Suddenly, his slimes report that the lesser fire dragons are acting strangely. Yuji sends them to investigate, and they find two suspicious men hiking near the volcano. Moments later, an earthquake shakes the ground. A massive fire dragon is heading toward the city of Borginia. "This isn't a coincidence," he mutters, his mind racing. The suspicious men must have triggered something. He turns to his slimes and Proud Wolf. Yuji's familiars report they're near the volcano. Yuji overhears their plan through a slime and decides to catch them. He launches an attack, but the men dodge with surprising agility, thinking they've triggered a monster trap. Yuji tries again, this time with more precision, but one of the men counters by attacking his slime. Yuji, unfazed, uses a second slime to trap the enemies, and they're caught in a gelatinous prison. The men, refusing to betray their organization, drink poison and die instantly. Yuji's slimes are confused. "What just happened?" they ask, their gelatinous bodies quivering with uncertainty. Yuji orders them to examine the barrels the men were carrying, sensing there's more to this than meets the eye. The slimes find magic stones hidden in the barrels. Dryad appears to assist, her presence calming the chaotic scene. She examines the stones and explains, "This water has been cursed to make monsters aggressive." Meanwhile, the lesser fire dragons continue acting strangely, their roars echoing through the mountains. A man knocks on Yuji's door, urging him to evacuate. The city is in chaos as residents flee, fearing the volcano's eruption. Yuji learns from the innkeeper, the fire dragon never appears on rainy days. But his familiars report a bigger problem. The fire dragon is running toward the city. Yuji remembers hearing about a fire dragon that destroyed Borginia half a century ago. He decides to stop the dragon, planning to use water to weaken it. His slimes check if the dragon will stop at the river, but the dragon evaporates the entire river, leaving nothing behind. Yuji realizes he'll need a lot more water to defeat this beast. "This isn't going to be easy," he mutters, his mind racing as he formulates a new plan. Yuji orders his slimes to prepare for battle. Proud Wolf rallies the slimes, his howl echoing through the air as they gather around Yuji. Yuji attacks the fire dragon with strong ice magic, freezing its legs momentarily. The dragon breaks free with a roar, its fiery breath scorching the ground. Yuji sends all his slimes to cast an ice spell together, but it fails again. The dragon retaliates with a fiery breath attack, forcing Yuji to counter with a 20 times stronger ice spell, transferring his magic to the slimes. The dragon crosses a second river, and Yuji devises a new plan. "Open the barrier," he commands. The slimes release a massive wave of collected water, drowning the dragon in a torrential downpour. The fire dragon appears defeated, its massive body collapsing into the water. But just as Yuji begins to relax, the dragon suddenly wakes up and attacks Yuji's familiars. Yuji protects them just in time, shielding them with a barrier. He orders them to find shelter, his voice firm despite the chaos. The dragon prepares to wipe out Virginia with a devastating fire breath, its mouth glowing with intense heat. Yuji quickly casts a powerful ice spell, transferring it to his slimes. Together, they overpower the dragon's attack, freezing its entire body in a massive block of ice. The frozen dragon shatters, dropping a giant jewel. The slimes celebrate their victory, bouncing around with glee, relieved to have survived the battle. Exhausted and out of MP, Yuji rests while his slimes discover a strange device near the dragon's remains. That evening, Yuji visits Geigel and shows him the fire dragon's jewel. Geigel is impressed but understands Yuji wants to stay undercover. Yuji then heads to the Adventurers Guild to learn about the city of Ordarian. The receptionist warns, "It's a strange place most adventurers avoid." Yuji shows her the mysterious machine and learns it's a device that can artificially cause rain. He deduces the suspicious men's base must be in Ordarian. "Looks like that's our next stop," Yuji says, his slimes bouncing in agreement. The next morning, Yuji receives a new legendary armor for his slime. Geigel wishes him luck as Yuji prepares to travel to the next town. Yuji, ever the humble hero, sets off with his familiars, determined to uncover the secrets of Ordarian and stop the evil organization once and for all. In a secret forest hideout, an old man craves divine power. After a mysterious power-up, he becomes muscular and menacing, his eyes glowing with dark energy. Meanwhile, Priest Stale is in the city of Ordarian, eagerly awaiting Yuji's arrival. The next day, Yuji enters Ordarian and visits the Adventurers Guild. He's immediately watched by suspicious men, but leaves without accepting a quest. Using a slime to spy, Yuji learns he's been removed from the death list, though one man still distrusts him. "Killing Yuji could cause problems for our organization," another warns. Yuji discovers their leader is named Walter and is later visited by Priest Stale, who shares a dark past with Walter. Priest Stale reveals to Yuji that he once founded the organization Blue Moon. "It started as a small group," he explains, "but it grew quickly. Walter joined and became my right-hand man." However, when the gods demanded the organization's dissolution, Priest Stale refused. Soon after, Walter led an attack that destroyed Blue Moon and murdered most of its members. Walter then formed the Blue Moon of Salvation, a group bent on destroying the world. Yuji is stunned by the story, and Priest Stale shows him a book as proof. "The gods sent you because you can wield the legendary dagger," Priest Stale says. "You must save the world." Meanwhile, Walter receives a report about Yuji and Priest Stale meeting in the church. He enters a hidden room and prays to a magical device. "The legendary sage who can destroy the world will appear soon," Walter mutters. "I just need to sacrifice a special person." Yuji, reflecting on Priest Stale's words, remembers a guild receptionist once telling him about the legend of a sage. The next morning, Yuji searches for Priest Stale but can't find him. His slimes report, "We saw Priest Stale in the morning." Yuji decides to track him down, his determination unwavering. Priest Stale finds a secret hiding place locked with a spell. Using a magical necklace, he opens the entrance and discovers a hidden room with Johan. Meanwhile, Yuji's slimes make new friends in the forest, all eager to support Yuji. Priest Stale, however, is surrounded by guards. He activates a protective barrier and prepares to fight. Yuji, searching for Priest Stale, finds a secret entrance. The slimes feel uneasy, but Yuji opens it with a powerful spell, his magic crackling through the air. Inside the hidden room, Priest Stale and Johann confront Walter. "I know my death will invoke the sage," Priest Stale declares, his voice steady despite the danger. Walter smirks. "You're right, but you're too late." Yuji and his familiars arrive, finding defeated enemies along the way. Priest Stale fights valiantly, but Walter paralyzes him with a spell. Johann reveals himself as a traitor, helping Walter lure Priest Stale into a trap. Walter explains, "We plan to cleanse the world with cursed magic crystals, but a strong warrior, Yuji, has been ruining our plans." Yuji steps forward. Walter acknowledges Yuji as the divine emissary who defeated the ancient beast and thwarted their plans. "But it doesn't matter," Walter says, his voice dripping with arrogance. "I will summon the legendary sage to destroy the world." Walter's defeated fighters, now lifeless puppets, twitch unnaturally as he prepares to sacrifice Priest Stale to awaken the sage. Yuji arrives just in time, his slimes surging forward to block an attack with a barrier. Yuji demands, "Tell me more about the legendary sage." Walter, realizing the tide is turning, escapes to a hidden room and sits on a throne designed to amplify his power. The air crackles with energy as Walter transforms into a giant beast, his body swelling with incredible strength. Yuji tries to stop the transformation with a barrage of fire magic, but Walter's new power is overwhelming. The battle intensifies as Yuji and his slimes prepare for the fight of their lives, their gelatinous bodies glowing with determination. Yuji is attacked, but his proud wolf leaps in to protect him. Yuji and his slimes prepare a combined fire spell, launching a barrage of fireballs that light up the room. Walter tries to fly away, but Yuji's slimes hit him with precise shots. However, Walter remains unharmed, his body regenerating almost instantly. Yuji orders his familiars to activate their magic gears, enhancing their powers. The slimes surround Walter, cornering him. One slime lands a powerful fireball, leaving a gaping hole in Walter's body. But Walter absorbs nearby monsters to regenerate, shocking Yuji. Walter absorbs more monsters, evolving a second time. His form becomes even more grotesque, his power surging to unimaginable levels. Yuji transfers fire spells to his slimes, who bombard Walter with fireballs. Walter retaliates, forcing Yuji and his proud wolf to dodge with all their might. Yuji uses a petrification spell, but Walter counters with a devastating Gum-Gum Gatling attack, breaking Yuji's barrier. Yuji declares, "Time for my finisher move!" He ties up Walter with slime webs and unleashes his most powerful fire spell. The slimes celebrate, but Walter laughs. In his final moments, he activates a spell, and the room fills with magical energy. The magical energy of the dead monsters is absorbed, and Johann is nearly consumed before Yuji protects him with a barrier. The room glows purple and a new warrior appears, the legendary sage. Yuji asks, "Is this Walter?" Priest Stale admits, "I didn't tell you the whole truth. Walter's death summoned the sage." Yuji learns Walter was preparing a ritual to summon a god. The sage attacks Yuji with a fire spell, which Yuji deflects. The slimes are shocked. The sage uses the same spells as Yuji. Yuji enhances his slimes with buffs, and they attack the sage. The sage deflects their attacks with a barrier. Yuji orders the slimes to spread out and attack from all directions, but the sage effortlessly blocks them. Yuji teleports his slimes to safety as the sage counters. Running low on MP, Yuji devises a new plan. He transfers a tenfold ice spell to his slimes, freezing the sage. The sage breaks free, and the slimes launch a tenfold fire spell, slamming him into the ground. The sage survives, and Yuji counters his attacks, but the battle is evenly matched. Yuji grows dizzy from exhaustion. The sage activates a dangerous spell, creating purple laser beams and artificial rain machines. Monsters across the world grow enraged, attacking towns. Adventurers struggle to defend against the onslaught. Yuji's slimes patrol the towns, but the situation is dire. The sage floats in the sky, transmitting his memories to Yuji. Yuji learns the sage wants to redeem the world by stopping the cycle of destruction. The sage attacks Yuji with a fire spell, and Yuji counters, causing massive explosions. Priest Stale watches in awe as the two forces clash. Yuji's slimes report problems with the angry monsters. Yuji transfers spells to stop the monsters, but his MP is nearly depleted. Dryad informs Yuji that residents of Faston are gathering at the city gates, ready to defend their town. Inspired by Yuji's past heroics, they vow to fight the monsters themselves. Yuji orders his slimes to assist the adventurers. Reports come in from other cities. Residents everywhere are rallying to defend their homes, knowing Yuji has saved them before. Geigel steps up, lending equipment to the knights. Yuji is surprised. He's used to working alone in his old life, but now he's happy to have allies. With the townspeople and adventurers fighting alongside him, Yuji can focus on the sage. Before the battle begins, Yuji activates spells to buff all the adventurers, making them strong enough to defeat the monsters. Priest Stale approaches Yuji, saying, "The gods are sending you a message." Yuji drinks a mysterious potion, let's call it a slurp drink from Fortnite, and restores his MP. He's ready for battle. When asked why he wants to protect the world, Yuji remembers the friends he's made in this isekai world. "I want everyone to live happily," he says. The battle between Yuji and the sage begins. The sage attacks, and Yuji counters with the same spell. The sage taunts, "Unlike you, I have infinite MP." But Yuji isn't backing down. A finisher spell countdown appears, and Yuji uses the Divine Strike, seriously injuring the sage. Yuji remarks, "Looks like I can use Pikachu's lightning spell again." He unleashes a barrage of lightning bolts for 30 seconds straight. The sage survives, so Yuji decides to use his legendary dagger. He orders his slimes to assist, and they jump around, ready for action. Yuji concentrates his strongest spell into the dagger and attacks. The sage counters with his strongest spell, but Yuji creates a barrier. The slimes pour all their power into Yuji, trapping the sage in a black barrier. Yuji attacks simultaneously, destroying the sage's body in a massive explosion. The adventurers feel the shockwave and are stunned by Yuji's power. Exhausted, Yuji falls to the ground, relieved to have saved the world. In the church, Priest Stale prays to the gods and wishes Yuji luck on his journey. That evening, Yuji's familiars ask why he's leaving Ordarian. "The Blue Moon organization is still out there," Yuji explains. "I don't want to cause trouble." Meanwhile, the cities celebrate their victory. Yuji's slimes tell him about the happy endings everywhere, but the remnants of the evil organization are still plotting. "We'll summon the Black Dragon of Ruin," one member declares. "We'll sacrifice our lives to destroy the world." Yuji's slime spies on the evil organization, reporting their plans. Yuji, unfazed, focuses on dinner. Suddenly, a huge tiger attacks, and Yuji's familiars are surrounded by monsters. The next morning, Yuji arrives in a new city and takes on an assignment. The guild worker is shocked when Yuji says he defeated all the tigers alone. She assumes his party members were eaten and tries to cheer him up. "They must be in paradise," she says. Maggie, another adventurer, recognizes Yuji. "I've heard rumors of a famous tamer," she says. Yuji realizes he's now known as a hero, and his slimes celebrate his recognition, their gelatinous bodies bouncing with joy.